Michael, it's always fun to anticipate talking with you and then sit here and chat with you for a few minutes.
Well, it's nice to see you again, Bob.
I always look forward to it. Our last visit was Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
And
That was a nice visit.
well, it turned out to be very lucrative for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then, of course, I have not seen you since you got your Oscar for Wall Street. But you know, I'm always running into people who think you got the Oscar for Fatal Attraction. Do you experience that?
I do. I think probably it was a combination, of the two. I think what happens is, as far as nomination kind of performances, Wall Street was a more colorful type role, much broader type part than Fatal. Although I was really, proud of my work in Fatal. Although like Glenn Close's part was much more colorful, and I think when it comes to Academy time voting, that they tend to lean towards the more colorful type roles.
So you were pleased to have won it for Wall Street rather than Fatal Attraction?
Well, I was pleased to win an Oscar. I mean, it really meant a lot for me personally as an actor. It was sort of a confirmation from my peers, and it's a really gives you a real boost of confidence and a real pleasure. So I was just happy to win it.
Michael, winning the Oscar, though, doesn't that place more pressure on you, particularly the next picture, because everybody's saying, okay, he won the Oscar, now let's see what he can do.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think so. I mean, winning an Oscar is great because you now are in really first position on scripts, and obviously your salary deals change. But actually, it wasn't until I was looking at the production notes of Black Rain just recently, and it started off saying his first performance, Black Rain, after winning the Oscar. Well, it's like this was a little pressure, but it's minimal, Bobbie. It really is. I mean, for Black Rain, what I really wanted to do after the Oscar was I looked at, well, what kind of part haven't I done? And I had not done a tough, physical type police character in a really, really long time. And I think it's a time, if you're not going to stretch now with that confirmation of an Oscar and stretch yourself as an actor and try to be perceived as someone who can play any type of role, then I don't know when you're going to do it.
This had to be physically a tough role.
Well, anytime you do a picture when you're in every single scene in the movie, it's tough. I don't think most people give people credit enough when they kind of carry a picture. Interestingly enough, in Wall Street, it was one of the few pictures where I did not. Charlie Sheen had to carry the film, and Gordon Gekko came in for half the picture and had some great parts. We tend as audiences to get lulled sometime and don't realize what it must mean to have to be in every single scene of a picture, and sometimes we're more attracted to that character who comes in and out. So yes, it was. It was it was tough under those circumstances. It was also tough because of the incredible locations and the moves, and shooting in Japan, shooting in New York, shooting in California, all over the place. And then the amount of action that we had. We got some pretty heavy-duty fight scenes, which you're always happy to get through in one piece. And particularly the last fight scene when in that mud. Wasn't planned, but it didn't stop raining for 6 days. And when you walk around with 15 or 20 pounds of mud just carrying you down, all that water, it gets pretty exhausting.
You seem to attract mud, romancing the stone.
Well,
that slide down into
it's
the
true.
mud
It's true.
Romancing the stone.
Well, a lot of times environmental elements like that really help. They give it a different feeling and a look. And as I said, in the end of Black Rain, this big finale was not originally planned that way, but once we dealt with it, and we thought it was a disappointment, but then it really became an asset because it does help create a different elements than you've seen before.
You're very scruffy looking in this movie with the stubble and not, the clean-cut guy I'm looking at right now. Did you like being in that kind of look?
Well, I always am fearful of this sort of leading man image in terms of the limitations and restrictions that it gives you, as opposed to being so-called a character actor. And our industry tends to sort of like put you in one or the other. And you know, as an actor, I like to try to stretch the boundaries. So I liked just a different look, and not trying to be typecast in any one type of look.
Was it difficult acting opposite Takakura? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Ken Takakura.
Ken Takakura. Was it difficult acting opposite him because English is not his first language?
No. It's never difficult to act opposite a great actor. And one of the joys, we'd heard a lot about Ken. Black Rain was his 198th film. He is a legend in Japan, a major star for 30 years. And when you start working with him, you know why. He's just such an exquisite actor, very subtle, not at all what we thought in terms of the Japanese style of pictures. We try to work and protect and work with him a lot, knowing how difficult it is just to work in a foreign language. But he was such a great actor that it wasn't any problem at all, but it was really a joy.
If it had been reversed, where you would be working with a bunch of Japanese actors trying to say Japanese words, how would you have felt?
Well, I thought about that, you know, and for the amount of time that I was in Japan, almost 2.5, 3 months, I was embarrassingly short in the amount of Japanese that I learned. I would have hoped that I've come as, you know, somewhere close to the ability that Ken had in mastering the language. But you know, Bobbie, one of the nice things about making movies is that it really is an international language, and both with film crews behind the camera and actors in front, irregardless of your languages, you just share the same craft. And it's really nice because it makes the world like a little smaller, and you really do feel like a diplomat, an international ambassador of goodwill. And I enjoy the opportunities shooting around the world and making contact with different artists.
Well, Michael, I know Black Rain is going to do well for you. I just feel that it's going to do well for you.
Oh, thank you, Bobbie.
I enjoyed your performance very much, and I enjoyed talking with you again.
Well, I appreciate it.
And you've got the next picture coming out with Danny and Kathleen.
War of the Roses will be out around Christmas time, and it's a dark comedy, very, very different than Black Rain. And I'm going to take a break after that because I really feel after these last 4 pictures together that I've covered a spectrum, and I really don't know what else to do right now, so I'm going to take a break for a year.
All right. Take a break.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Michael.
Bobbie. See you.
Stop it.